Well, thank you
All
so
right.
much for coming, Sarah. Thank you, everyone, for coming to the Jackhammer Effect Chapter 5. We have a very esteemed guest today with us, Sarah Olea. But before that, Myron, would you please take a moment to explain what the Jackhammer Effect is to all our
Absolutely. But you guys are in for a real treat today with Sarah. I know her. A real fortunate treat all the way from LA live, thanks to the magic of the internet. But I'll let her, she'll do her magic herself. So you may wonder, you may not wonder, but I'm going to share it anyways. Why we call it the jackhammer. We all know what the machine is. So it's simply called the jackhammer because we believe somebody who's a jackhammer doesn't take no for an answer. You know, believes you find a way or make a way, you think outside the box, you don't quit until the effort is greater than the benefit. Very simple, to the point. Uh, Sarah, could you please, first of all, we're really excited to have you. Thank you so much for taking the time. I know it's only 3:04 there, so I really appreciate during the work day. It's rough. If I had to do it, it's rough. So, like I was telling Joe, we should maybe go more on West Coast time than East Coast time. But anyways, something to think about. Sarah, could you just briefly introduce yourself to our esteemed audience, and then we'll get the show on the road.
Absolutely. And it's great to see some familiar faces also. Hello, Rhonda and Myron. My name is Sarah Olea. I am the CEO and founder of Socialite LLC. We're a digital marketing company, but we have a hyper focus on social media. We do things very different there. But I started off in sales, moved to PR, then into marketing. And I feel like with a combination of all three of those angles, we've been able to build a digital marketing company that really focuses on the benefit of the customer. And I feel that regardless of whatever field you're in, if you are solving problems, you'll be in business forever. So that's one thing that I like to talk about a lot is how do we become solution minded and we'll stay in business that way.
That's great. It's unbelievable. Axel, do you want to start maybe?
Absolutely,
Want to
Sarah.
throw it open right away? We throw
Yeah,
this right open.
I mean,
Very,
Sarah, in preparation for today's show, I was kind of doing a bit of research and stuff, and I actually have quite a few questions because what you're a solution provider, and the solution you provide is extremely current. And before we get to like kind of how it works and what you do and stuff, like, could you tell us a little bit? I understand you're a CEO and co-founder. Like, how did you two start the company?
Absolutely. So like I mentioned, I started in sales and then into PR, and I was working with a lot of entertainers. But I'll share the story because I've shared all the time. As much as I love good PRs, oftentimes it can kind of feel like a scam or like you're investing money and you don't know where it's going. And so I had to justify how much I was charging my clients with results. But oftentimes you can get picked up on a really big press article, and what's the real return on that versus how much you're spending a PR to spend all this time to garner that placement. So I really just wasn't in love with PR anymore. And I figured, I need to try this marketing thing out because I know if I spend $3,000 in ads, I have the data to prove what that made me back. So I started doing some experimenting, running ads on Facebook in 2012 and turned $136,000 profit into $136,000 investment into a $3.6 million profit. And I quickly realized, yeah, this is where I need to stay. So changed a whole business around from being, $12 million company on the upwards of $20 million company. Facebook did a case study on the work that was done there. I mean, they emailed and said, is this accurate? 450% return? Like, that's not possible, And, yeah. And the interesting thing was that they only reported a 50% ROI because they literally said in their interview with me, we don't want to have people's expectations not be met. So we're going to show some of your success and not all of it. Later on, a couple other marketing companies did pick up the story and reported accurate information. But either way, it was a huge eye-opener for me that I needed to pay more attention to what the digital marketing aspect of campaigns versus the PR. And I still did a lot of, excuse me, I have dogs. I still did a lot of organic reach as well. So it was quite a combination between the two. Either way, was with that company doing marketing for about 4 years. And I was taking the same strategy that I was doing in direct advertising on Facebook and even print magazine. And I started applying that to entertainers, which a lot of companies, at least smaller marketing companies, they weren't really looking at that. They were doing a lot of the organic stuff, but they weren't applying a digital advertising perspective to their marketing. So as the company is growing, I hired an assistant. On her resume, I saw that she had attempted to start a social media marketing company, and she also had a degree in writing. And I thought, she might be my counterpart. So I hired her as an assistant first at that company, and threw her out to the wolves, and she was very successful at it. We're literally the yin and yang. I mean, we couldn't be more opposite in everything from our belief system to how we work. But I asked her, I pulled her to the side one day and I said, would you be interested in starting a social media marketing company with me? And she says, I don't know how to close deals and I don't know how to work with clients directly. I just sit in front of the computer. And I said, well, that's the beauty of it. You sit in front of the computer, I sit in front of the clients. And boom, 3 months later, we launched Socialite. We now have over 10 employees and we are rapidly growing. We just started a sports division within Socialite that I'll be excited to announce more publicly. I'll be bugging Myron about that soon. I didn't want to tell him about it yet until I had all my ducks in a row.
Yeah,
But,
and her co-founder is fantastic, by the way. I know she does.
She's
She's
very,
what she
very
does,
different. Very
and
different.
they are opposites completely.
Yeah.
I will hop on the phone any time of day and work it out versus she will prefer email all day.
Wow, there's so much to unpack in what you've been able to achieve. I mean, that's pretty impressive. Because I just had an idea with something you said at the beginning that like any professional would have something to gain in doing this. And I was actually able to convince a friend of mine. We went to school together years ago. He's actually online. His user is Ben Leclerc right there. He's an architect, and it made me think like it'd be fun to do like a 3-minute exercise of like, how could an architect benefit from that? If you don't mind, like you'll get great value out of this call. But I'd have a few other questions for you before. Like, as an average consumer, I guess. I know Facebook, I know Instagram, and I know you can link the two and stuff. But like, what does it all really mean to you? And I know it's a broad question, but like, when a client comes to you with an issue, how do you devise a plan that makes sense for them?
Yeah. So starting with the architect, I mean, obviously there are plenty of problems we need solutions to, and there's problems in the architect world that we need solutions to. So already he's providing solutions to people, right? Whether it's building commercial buildings or, remodeling something that's already existing. But now how does he use social media essentially, right? Because his industry is not really looking at hashtags to find the next architect.
Mm-hmm.
However, I look at social media as it could be multiple streams of revenue. So if you're an architect already making a lot of money, but you're thinking about your retirement plan or you're thinking about making money while you sleep, so you're focused on your passion, but then you have another stream of revenue, I would say, okay, well then it's time to get on social media, even if it's just a YouTube channel. Maybe you take people behind the scenes of building out your plans, or behind the scenes of in a meeting with clients, or talking about the frustrations of being an architect. You launch this YouTube channel, and if you do it right, you start gaining enough subscribers, enough views. Now you have a fan base around your passion, and that fuels another stream of income, whether you're building, you built your audience and now you're gaining clients through that because they're Googling architects and you're popping up because of SEO, or you're just making advertising dollars. Every interior designer, every, in a networking group I'm in, we call them power partners, interior designers or contractors or any of the types of people that I don't know his industry very well, but the types of people that he would connect with and gain clients from, they might be searching certain things and they find him, or the people trying to attach themselves to his power partners, they're going to advertise on his YouTube channel. So HGTV, for example, might want to buy some advertising on his YouTube channel because they know the people watching it are maybe doing some DIY projects, or they just have a love for there's so many different ways to move around that. But I would say the best thing for him is to identify, or for anyone really, who is your customer, and are you trying to increase your customer base, or are you trying to create a fan base where you'll have an additional stream of revenue? that's the way I like to look at social media marketing as a whole.
Yeah.
Sarah, I have a question for you. Sorry, Axel, if I'm jumping in. So my question to you would be from a brand's point of view. How would you advise a brand to connect more emotionally with their customers?
You know, it depends on the brand, obviously, right? I work with a lot of brands that struggle with connecting with their audience because they don't have a face to the name. And so people like to attach themselves to people. That's why, you know, advertising 10, 20 years ago was all about putting a celebrity with a brand, right? Myron can speak to that all day long. Now it's influencers, social media influencers attached to a product. So if you're a brand where you're a person, we'll use Rhonda for example. So she's a writer and she wants to build her brand as a writer. She could speak directly to the camera, do video content that could connect with the audience. But what happens if you're like a toothpaste brand and the CEO doesn't want to be the face of the company, right? How do you speak to your audience? I believe video content is the best form of content right now, whether it's being used organically or for advertising, because you can actually speak things out. It's not that somebody has to read something that could be misinterpreted. A strong text with good visuals are really going to help impact your audience. And I always tell people this too. It's not about less is more, or you have more, you know, quantity over quality. It really comes down to, excuse me, now I'm getting a phone call. It really comes down to the content, the quality of your content. If you only post one time a month, but it's heartfelt and it's perfect for your audience and it stands out, I would prefer my client posting one video a month versus one every day, low quality, the topic's not, you know, really not newsworthy or beneficial to their brand, because now he's just, or she's just wasting her time, right? So I look at it like from a branding perspective, use video content, high quality video content. And believe it or not, you can get that stuff done for very inexpensive nowadays. It's not like it used to be. I work with a lot of record labels. They used to spend millions of dollars. Every one of our favorite Michael Jackson music videos, like we're talking $2-3 million to produce these. I'm seeing incredible music videos done for $5,000, $10,000. And for brands, I mean, there's platforms out there, stock footage that you can license, and voice actors online that would love to do voiceovers. So it's amazing how well you can produce video content for your brand. And I think that's the best way to speak to your audience.
That's amazing. Thank you for sharing that, Sarah. So
Yeah, go for it.
would you want to open the floor to our audiences to ask questions?
Sure.
So, yep, if anyone has any question for Sarah, please jump in.
I just want to kind of ride Sarah's coattail on the whole video thing. I think videos are such a authentic way to connect with your audience. And I do a very probably low rent video, Sarah, once a week on LinkedIn, and it's 30 seconds long. Really, that's all it is. It's 30 seconds, giving a tip about writing, helping someone through the angst of their writing. And I've gotten such a great response for it because people see my face, they hear my voice, they hear the empathy in my voice. So that's why I think it really creates that emotional and personal connection, even just for 30 seconds.
Absolutely. I agree.
Well, it's such a genuine way to connect because you can actually share something that, you know, whether you're in whatever industry you're in, like your video could just be about like, man, today was hard and I'm drained doing this and I still take pleasure, but whoa, it's hard.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
People can relate.
I think the power of a video could be you could speak to millions without being in front of millions, you know?
Yeah.
So I mean, if you're shy, then you put, you know, which a lot of people are. I mean, like people go on Zoom, call these things, don't ask, you know, don't ask or don't talk. And I understand that. They just want to listen. But if you could really be convinced that you're speaking to yourself, but then have the guts after, because you are only locked into your room, no one but you, and then put it out there, you know, that's kind of a good kind of compromise, so to speak. You know what I mean? For people who have any kind of introverted, that's the power of it. And it's also like you say, can you use your telephone? Is that sufficient today? Or do you need something more sophisticated?
Right. And that depends on who you're talking to, right? what I love about what Rhonda was saying is that it's just a 30-second video. We also have to keep in mind people's attention span nowadays. We're consuming content at such a rapid speed. The shorter and the shorter and more impactful you can make your video, the better. That's why Instagram stories are 15 seconds long. And sometimes I'm like, that was a long 15 seconds. You know, if you write the script out well enough, you know, or just have it be animated enough, it's incredible what you can achieve in 15 seconds. I'm seeing advertising campaigns that we're doing right now for 15-second videos that are outperforming 3-minute, 5-minute videos. And that's not how it was historically. You know, even if you look at data from 10 years ago, that's not really what it was. You know, it was always intended to be like long form videos and give as much information. But also if we think about ads on TV, we're basically just copying that platform, right? They would fulfill 3 or 4 different advertising campaigns within this small, you know, 30-second gaps that we would have in between shows, or a couple minute gaps. It's essentially the same thing now. It's just the diversity and what you'll see, and who's saying what. I mean, it's kind of hard with social media too. I battle every day. I'm like, man, I am in the devil's playground in social media. Like, there's so many people with a voice saying so many wrong things with no facts and nothing to back it up. So you also have to be, you know, smart when using social media. But that's why I empower my clients to be very educated on any topic that they are speaking on. We all are aware of what's been happening in America over the past several weeks, and all my clients are coming to me saying, I need to change the narrative of all my posts, and what do I say and how do I say it? And if you're not educated, you know, you can write this beautiful long caption and still offend half your audience, you know? So it's been an interesting time on social media right now, especially with my business owners, but definitely keeping the engagement short and sweet. And high quality. It's sorry, not engagement, videos. You're going to see great engagement with your brand, your audience.
It seems like over time you've really been able to grow with your just the assistant that you hired to now this business where you're going to be launching an entertainment division. You said
sports division.
Sports division, and so I understand you also work with some bands. Like, can you kind of give us a little bit of an overview of like, what does your clientele look like? What industries you cater to?
Yeah. You know, it's funny because a lot of people ask me like, what's your niche? I'm like, my niche is social media. And they're like, yeah, but like, who do you serve? And you know, when I built Socialite, Melina and my partner and I built Socialite, our hope was that we would be an extension to our client. So it's almost as if they're hiring a bunch of people for their own company. That's how we wanted to make it feel for them. So everything is so customized that we can work with any brand. We have a new amazing holistic dentist and nutritionist we just started working with. And it's so awesome. And you know what? Her performance over the past just last week, she texted me over the weekend and said, I don't know what you guys are doing, but I've grown so much in just a few days. So that's one aspect of it, right? I also have a young independent artist. Nobody knows who she is. She has like 2 songs out. We started with her at 30,000 followers 3 months ago, and she's now over 75,000 followers in 3 months. And her, you know, she was getting a couple hundred likes. She's getting 3,000, 4,000 likes. We have a call set up to talk to her about how do we take you to the next level now, because she's grown so rapidly. So our clientele is very different. We don't have a niche. Seal is one of our clients, incredible singer, awesome guy. Nancy Cartwright, voice of Bart Simpson, also one of our clients. So we love our celebrity clients, but we also love our really small businesses that are trying to figure it out, you know? So yeah, we just took down the part of our website that showed who all our clients were, only because we just recently got published in a New York Times article, and all our clients were also getting harassed by like different people. So I was like, okay, take that page down. But we'll be relaunching it soon, and maybe not including some of our celebrity clients on there. It was great to show people that, you know, we have such reputable clients, but we're also showing that it's almost more beneficial to show the small guys we took to be that celebrity status versus just working with a celebrity that's already seen so much success. So I hope that answers your question. We can really work with anyone. Yeah.
Yeah, it does. But what I find interesting is that you're describing like a very wide array of clients, but then it makes me think like, have you found, what are their common points? What are their commonalities that regardless of the industry or what they do, that they always want?
Right. I mean, they all want a voice on social media. They all want engagement. They all want followers. Very little of them actually care about the ROI, which sometimes scares me because I'm like, you need a return on your investment. But, you know, followers is like equivalent to like money now. And I get it because we help build influencers so that then they can get brand sponsorships and endorsement deals and launch products, right? So they built the audience first, then launch the product. So, but a lot of people come to us and say, I just want to get my stuff out there and I'm afraid to launch it on my own because 5 people will see it. Versus if you help me put it out, maybe 5,000 people will see it or 500,000 people. So oftentimes it's just people desiring to put out content and they're afraid to do it. And then they don't want to do it and look like they failed. So we come in and help support.
Sarah, I have a question.
All right, sorry, go ahead, Myron.
Okay, sorry.
Okay.
Sarah,
Yeah.
you may be playing in the devil's digital playground, but it's the only playground right now.
The largest.
So, yeah, especially with COVID. So I'm just curious, someone like you, even though you are in the only playground in town, so to speak, universally, how has COVID affected someone like in that business? Because, you know, I know how it affects the retailers in clothing, accessories. I know certain people, restaurants are very concrete and tangible, how it affects them, or unfortunately, how it devastates them. I'm not really sure. I'm just curious, since I have someone like you are on, how does it affect people, good or bad, and how do they embrace it, and how has it made you pivot or adapt, or maybe it hasn't? I don't know.
Yeah, in terms of how have I been affected by COVID?
Yeah,
and then,
how's your business? Yeah.
Yeah, you know, we didn't lose any clients in COVID. We did have to extend accounts. We did extend campaign length terms so that, you know, we were just kind of stretching out their budget a little bit longer. We did find ourselves doing that, but we didn't lose any clients. To be completely transparent, actually, right before COVID, I was looking at my business thinking, if I don't revamp, I don't know how we're going to survive. I mean, I was like praying over my business every day because it was getting harder and harder. There were so many social media marketing companies popping up because you have people, that have social media platforms. They have a Facebook account, and so they think that they're marketing experts now. And so then they're like, oh, well, if I can post on my own social media, then I should be able to handle other people's social media. And then they start these social media marketing companies. And I was finding clients coming to me saying, I just spent $70,000 with a marketing company and got nothing in return. And I want to have $2,000 for you. And my heart like, okay, yeah, we'll make it work, you know, and then not being profitable enough. And so I decided very quickly, okay, something has to change. COVID hits and everyone that was afraid to do social media or didn't see the value in it started calling us.
Right.
And we were able to sustain the business and then now grow it because people realized very quickly that they need social media, number one. And number two, I then started publicly training people how to hire social media marketing companies. You don't just hire somebody that their own social media looks good. You have to look at their strategy and their process and all those things. So I would say COVID-19 completely, dramatically changed my business for the better, because I think people started seeing the value of digital marketing and social media. But my clients, then what I love is they were very adaptable. And they quickly realized, okay, let's shift everything. Let's not focus. You know, I work with a lot of musicians, concerts getting canceled, Coachella getting canceled. Right. Many of our vendors, unfortunately, you know, lost a lot of money, and we were struggling to keep our creative team afloat without, you know, doing photo shoots and video shoots and all that throughout this time. They were highly affected, but a lot of them started switching their mindset and thinking, okay, I need to launch a podcast. I need to start working on my own fan base now. You know, one of our event coordinators just launched a podcast and now it's taking off. So the people that wanted to just kind of be an ostrich and put their head in the ground and just, we're going to wait till it blows over, you know, they're still struggling and they're kind of behind a little bit. COVID-19 is not just a pandemic that hit us for a while. This impacted the entire world. There are so many businesses that will now be using remote workers and saving a lot of money on buildings, but that's going to affect real estate. I mean, we all have seen how it's impacted the entire world.
Right.
So now I think more than ever, it's important to establish who your audience is and build a voice on social media.
Right.
This is the time to do it. So, you know, I could go on forever, and I think each one of us could speak to how COVID-19 has impacted us in some way. But I feel like social media, it's divided the social media marketing companies. What I see is it's divided the wannabes versus the really, thought-provoking marketing leaders. It's definitely divided the two. And there's a lot of technology and apps that have boomed. Look at Zoom, right? Look at all these different technologies that have taken off. And there's also a lot of technologies that failed because they weren't able to adapt, right? So, you know, COVID-19 has impacted us all, but I think that it's impacted us for a great change, putting us into a positive perspective. And if it's pushing some people to get out of their comfort zone because you can't take a coffee meeting anymore. I know Myron was like, I love face-to-face meetings, you know, but now he's meeting with people all over the world, and I'm in LA and he's in Canada, and we're working on stuff together. So I think COVID just pushed us out of our comfort zone. I know I needed the push. I needed the encouragement, and I got that from this.
So you find a way or make a way, which is what you're doing.
Yeah.
Bottom
Yeah,
line.
you have to. If there's not a door, you make one, right?
Absolutely.
I have a question for you, Sarah. So my question to you would be, and this is coming back to the video part of it, brands making videos to target their potential client base. So celebrities. Featuring celebrities on your video is obviously one of the biggest things you can have. It's extremely expensive, but at the same time, for a brand, that actually opens up the market to a very wide audience, and it targets your customer acquisition strategy highly profitably. But if there is no celebrity, what would be the next best option for a brand?
Absolutely. I actually don't think celebrities is the best option to start with, actually. I think celebrities are wonderful when it really works, and if there's something organic that happens. You know, if you end up at a dinner with Oprah and you find out that she has this beautiful philanthropy idea that happens to be in line with your company and it happens organically, go for it. But ideally, I would say go after the influencer with 500,000 to 1 million followers that has a high engagement rate. That means they're getting hundreds of thousands of video views and comments, and they're very active, and they're within your niche. They're way less expensive. I mean, we're talking $1,500 versus $1.5 million that it might be to get a big celebrity, right? So, and that $1,500 for that influencer can not only grow your followers, but increase your traffic. And if you have a marketing company like us, or you're creative enough to come up with a campaign, if you have a very effective campaign alongside a very impactful influencer with high engagement, you can have a very successful campaign. What I mean by that is look over the analytics. Do more people respond to their Instagram stories versus their posts? Okay, so maybe you have them do a post, then do a few Instagram stories. Maybe they go live with you. I try to look at it like, you know, how do you make it look the most organic? That's really what it comes down to. You don't want to look like an ad. So if you can build a campaign with an influencer where it looks like you guys are friends versus you have hired them, you're going to see the greatest results. And I feel like it's almost better than a celebrity, because if I went and I hired a celebrity to promote Socialite, it looks like I purchased them. Versus like what happened, I got mentioned with one of my celebrity clients in an article. And when I did the interview with them, I thought I was just giving them insight. I didn't know they were quoting me and doing half the article about the company. So, you know, that shows when something happens kind of organically around your work or the network you're with, or the campaign is just drafted to look that way, you'll have a lot of success. I think celebrities come in when, you know, you're a $25 million company, $300 million company, and, you know, you're putting out a new product and you want Kim Kardashian to wear your shoes and walk into a, you know, mosh pit of paparazzi. But other than that, I would vote against celebrities, and I would actually say work with social media influencers.
Fair enough. Wow. Okay, that changes the perspective a little bit, to be honest. Okay, thank you for that.
Linda, you had a question?
Yes.
Linda has a question. Yes.
Hi, Sarah. Can you tell me what do you believe are going to be the top 3 strategies for marketing coming out of COVID? I mean, like everyone is talking TikTok, TikTok, not there. So what do you think are the 3 most important strategies coming up?
Yeah, we just wrote a blog on this actually about the new trending strategies for 2020. And we wrote the blog and we published it. And then like a week later, we were like, wait a minute, we need to do a part 2 immediately because things are changing so quickly. You know, Instagram and Facebook aren't going anywhere. They're platforms that they have sustained themselves. They have taken other companies out of business by quickly adapting to new features, and they're just monsters at that, good and bad. So I would say utilizing the new features that Instagram and Facebook puts out and adopting them pretty quickly. You know, that's a good thing to kind of keep your eye on, because right now I can't even forecast the trends because of how different it is compared to what we thought it was going to be in 2019. I can say that Zoom meetings like this are becoming more and more popular and more beneficial. And there are apps like StreamYard, and there's a couple of their competitors out there where you can host this type of meeting live on social media. So you're having an intimate setting, and then you're having all your social media followers and fans view in live with their own chats going on as well. So features like that, I think, are going to be kind of the new trend of how businesses will communicate with their audience. I was on a Zoom last night. I think there was like 6,000 people on this Zoom. I've never been on a Zoom like this before. You just see the speaker, but there was polls popping up and people were answering the polls, and that's how they were drafting the information. And I'm like, whoa, what kind of unlimited premium version of Zoom do you have? You know? And so really, I think the trends is just going to follow the technology. You know, and then when you adopt a technology, dive into it, watch all their YouTube videos, get trained up on that technology. Facebook launched these Facebook meeting rooms, you know, start adopting the meeting rooms and using those with your clients and your audience. Because one thing that I can say is that I wish I had hopped on YouTube sooner and started a channel. I wish that I had, you know, I look back on things, we're like, oh, it's another platform, I'm not going to jump on that. Now, when I see a new platform, I create an account for my clients right away. We start posting. And in 3 months, if nothing's happening, I'll, you know, won't focus on it too much. But I have so many TikTok famous clients that platform just blew up for them because it launched and everyone said it was for 13-year-olds. And I thought, I'm going to put a couple 53-year-olds and see what happens. And they're booming. So, you know, I would say when new technology pops up, don't be afraid of it, you know?
No pun intended.
Right.
I believe Richard has a question.
I do.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm well, thank you.
Niche. How niche? I mean, obviously, you know, there's the adage of more niche the better, but there is a point at which you can over niche as well. Could you speak to that?
Yes. So again, it kind of comes down to your brand, right? I'm just going to use Rhonda again as an example. So she's a writer. Her niche could be everyone, unless she stepped in and said, okay, I'm a fiction writer. Okay, so now we've established that she has a niche within something that could be a lot more broad. So for example, I'm working with a dentist, but she's a holistic dentist. So my approach is to go after everyone that's looking at natural medicine, holistic medicine. So that's become her niche, even though we can back up a few steps and I can target anybody interested in medical stuff. So isn't a niche important? Yes. However, I don't have a niche and we have found success. I think it comes down to your brand and your audience. I would love to learn, since we're on this Zoom, you know, what is your business and who is your audience? And we could kind of do a live, a live niche builder. You have to unmute and tell us.
Yeah, very cool. Thank you. I appreciate that. I mute because I don't want anything around to interrupt.
I hear you.
Hey, Sarah, now if you don't mind, we prepared a few rapid fire questions that we like to ask all of our guests. You had a slightly longer selection to go from, and So I'd like to throw them at you and kind of the first thing that comes to mind and go from there. So very easy to start with, but what gets you up in the morning other than coffee?
Yes, I actually don't drink coffee, but the
Wow.
sun gets me up. If I have an early meeting, I'll set an alarm clock. But typically, I open all the shades, and the sun rises, and I start to see it, and that's really what wakes me up.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Makes sense. When you were when you were young, is there an entrepreneur that particularly inspired you?
Absolutely. Steve Stout. Steve Stout is the owner of a business called Translation. I remember watching his company grow from 12 employees to he probably has 100 now. If you're not familiar with Steve Stout, he is the gentleman that brokered the deal between Jay-Z and Samsung. And just to give you an idea of how large that deal was, his commission was $3.6 million.
Mission.
So right. So he owns an advertising agency. And I don't know, 10 or 11 years ago, I would watch Steve Stout and try to determine, did I want to try to go work for him? Did I just want to idolize him? You know, what did I want to do? But I've just followed his journey, and I've implemented a lot of things that he's done in his company in my own. And I'm constantly inspired by the types of deals that he brokers. And he's very creative. So that's an entrepreneur that I would say I looked at, and I think everyone should look at the types of deals that he brokers. He's incredible.
Have you befriended him?
I was gonna say, did you meet him?
I have never met Steve Stout. I have a lot of people who have. He's in a very close circle. I'll say that we're probably a handshake away from, we have one person in between us. At some point, I think that'll happen. Me launching a sports division and him being very active with athletes as well. We are going to cross paths at some point. That's a goal for sure.
Very, very interesting. I sincerely wish you that before the end of 2020, you meet him.
I love that.
That's my, one, if I can send you one thing tonight, that's what it is.
Yes, I love that. Thank you. I received that.
What advice would you give to younger people? Like, yeah, what advice would you give to yourself if you were 20 years old now?
I would tell myself, Sarah, you don't know everything. When I was 20, I thought I could do it. I don't need a mentor. I can figure it out. I've got this far on my own. I had an interesting childhood, moved out at 19, started my first then actually marketing company there that was in very interesting PR marketing. But I really didn't think that I needed to go work for someone else. I thought that I can just jump into this and do it myself. Also, without a college education, I just literally jumped into it. And now looking back, I probably would have maybe did a few internships and got a few tools on my belt before I started, because I met so many celebrities at a very young age. And I thought it was cool to have pictures with them. And I was sitting at bottle service tables with Jay-Z and all this really cool stuff, but I didn't have anything to give them. I didn't have anything to offer them. So I would have loved that I had tools on my belt where when I'm sitting across, the table from some of these people, I could say, hey, by the way, I have a solution. I think that's what helped me to identify that I needed to have mentorship. I needed to maybe not do internships, but work for companies and establish who I was, put some tools on my belt before I launched. I will say that I just turned 30 and I am still very happy with the success that I have found, but I do look at it like, where would I have been had I done some of those things? So when I meet 20-year-olds that apply for Socialite and say they want to make $100,000 a year with no experience, that's oftentimes the conversation that I have with them. It's like, hey, I think it's wise for you to get a job not paying $100,000 and build your skill set so that you don't become a disappointment for companies when they hire you at $100,000 and you don't deliver. It would be so much better for you to get a $65,000 or a $55,000 job and be this great success for the company and turn a profit and a revenue, and then they offer you $100,000 versus coming in like, oh, I've watched some YouTube videos and I'm so knowledgeable. I feel like ego really hurts 20-year-olds and millennials right now, or the generation younger than me. So that's definitely what I would tell my younger self is like, hey, like humble yourself and go work for a couple of people that are good at what you want to do in the future.
I can so relate to that.
Yeah.
I should have worked for Steve Stout,
And my last question is, you mentioned being humble, especially at the beginning. And being an entrepreneur is very difficult. It's tough at the beginning. It takes much longer than we think to take off. Then you're managing everything yourself. And what if you had to pick three values that an entrepreneur would need to have to succeed? What would they be?
Um, Definitely mentorship would be the first thing. I would say some sort of financial assistance. I don't mean money. I mean, learn how to spend money, learn how to invest money, like just have the understanding of how money works. And then, because you could make a lot of money as an entrepreneur and spend a lot of money as an entrepreneur. I have been down that road. And then the third thing I would say is just faith. You need a whole lot of faith to be an entrepreneur. If every time you look at a situation, you look at the problem and the roadblock and you are not determined, you're not going to get through it. Just get a good job working for someone and be okay with a 9 to 5. Because being an entrepreneur, when you see the trouble or the storm coming, you can't fear that thing. You've got to figure out, how am I going to invent the next best umbrella? And then you need to get through that thing. So, definitely mentorship, some understanding of how money works, and faith would be the three values I would say are very important.
Very nice.
I have one last question for you, and that is, in your entire career, what was your best moment and what was your worst?
I'm trying to think who's going to watch this, and I'm not going to mention anybody, but they might. I think my best moment, and I think these are often, the best moment is when a client comes to you with a goal and you have exceeded their expectation and their goal. I've had clients call me crying. Like, I didn't think this was going to work. And you changed my whole mind and this worked, I think those are amazing moments that I've experienced in business. The bad ones are hiring the wrong people at the wrong time, putting them in the wrong position. I have experienced a lot of pain in growing my company with having a heart to give people opportunity. And they might have been good people and put in bad positions, so they can't deliver on that position. So I found myself oftentimes not being a great leader because I was hiring the wrong people that didn't fit my teaching styles or my learning styles. And then there's this clash and I end up doing more of the work, but then still having payroll every 2 weeks. So now, I just posted on my Facebook today. I said, well, Socialite is growing and I've never been so excited and nervous all at the same time, because I'm hiring people that they're not only qualified, but they fit the team and they fit the position. And when you have the right people in the right position, you can actually build a company. I know we're talking to a lot of entrepreneurs. It's the same thing with freelancers. Find a freelancer that has the same ambitions as you or works the same hours as you, or you can trust that if you're off the clock, they're on the clock and stuff is still getting done. So I would say that's probably the biggest struggle and part of the hardest time is when your employees are making more money than you are and you are doing all the work essentially.
Well, thank you for that. That was really inspiring. I do agree on one point, and that is, I've read about this a little bit, is that a good entrepreneur or a good CEO is a person who knows what they're doing day in and day out, but the one who excels at everything else is the one who doesn't have any emotions at the end of the day, because they just need to get things done.
Absolutely. And I don't want to say that all women are this way, but I would say that women tend to be a little bit more emotional, at least on my side. Well, I can't even say that because I have some emotional men in my life, but I think that for me, my heart is to always create opportunity. Like when I look at my clients, I think that that's what makes me good at my job is I don't just look at them as a ticket price, right? I really look at the opportunity and I get this heart connection of wanting to help them fulfill their dream. So I often did that with employees or people that it's like, okay, they're not really that great, but they're kind of great and I can make them great. But the problem is if you try to make your team great, they have to come in with like a level of greatness. If you try to make them great, you're taking all your time trying to make them and do the job. So, you definitely have to detach emotions emotions out of everything, and you can't take anything personal either. If a client, I mean, not if a client, well, if a client too, but if an employee is clocking in late all the time, it's not a direct impact, on you, or you can't take it personal. Like they don't like me, they don't like themselves because they don't want to get up and do it, and you'll find that with business partners. A lot of entrepreneurs I know right now are merging companies. So during COVID, I've seen a lot of, writers link up with marketing companies and they're launching their own thing, right? Or sports apparel is now lining up with dance apparel and now they're doing one companies. I've seen a lot of these merge. So with partners, it's the same thing. You can't take the way they think and the way they work personal when it doesn't match your style. I think that's one of the biggest challenges that we've overcome, my business partner and I, is we're very different. I mean, if you put us together in a room and interviewed us, every answer we would probably answer differently, except for maybe how we run Socialite would be the same. But how we view life, world, people, work, everything is completely different. But we fit because we understand each other. When she says certain things, I can't be offended or hurt by that, and vice versa. So I think absolutely pulling your emotions out of business in general is very healthy.
I would completely agree. Thank you so much for that, Sarah.
Joe, I
yeah.
have a quick question to ask
Yeah,
Sarah.
sure, go ahead.
Take her quite a bit out of your comfort zone, and then we can close it. Sarah, if you were, for some reason, locked up in a desert island, and you had three things to take: one song, a technological tool or game or toy, and a book. One by one, what would you take? Be totally candid.
If you had sent me this question, I thought, I don't know if they're going to ask me this question. What would I say?
Well, you didn't want to answer it, so that's why I'm asking you. You said you got to be prepared.
No, you're right.
I asked the questions you don't want to answer.
Yeah, I'm just going to hope that the desert island has some sort of internet connection, because I would definitely want
We're going to assume that. We'll give you that. Okay.
So I would definitely want my cell phone there. You can do everything with your cell phone, or computer, I guess, but we'll say cell phone.
Okay.
I would probably bring a playlist if I could, versus like a song. If I had to pick a song, I would probably pick an instrumental. Like there's a playlist I listen to called Soaking Music, and it's just literally just beautiful instruments. And I'd probably pick that because I'm going to go insane listening to the same lyrics over and over again on a desert island. Right. At least that could, put me to sleep every once in a while. And then a book, I would for certain pick the Bible. I believe that there's a lot of treasures impact in that 1,000, 2,000-year-old book. And regardless of what religion you are, you can read it. And we've all heard amazing stories from that book growing up. And I think that would get me through some hard times and reflect for sure.
Great answer.
Yeah. So we have three more people who didn't ask any questions. So I just want to go out and see Ben, Jaina, and RA. If you guys have any questions to ask our beloved guest here, this is your opportunity. And
take that as a no.
I get to pick her brain all the time, so I could not miss coming and hearing, but I'm constantly picking Sarah's brain. She's amazing.
Thank you, Jen. I appreciate that. Yes, we ask questions to each other all the time, for sure.
Perfect. So, Axel, do you have any more questions? Myron, do you have any more questions? Or we should go to the conclusion section of the event. Great. So, Myron, would you like to do the closing statements, please?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that, you talked about it, Sarah, really, when people are asking you about a definition of an entrepreneur. And at the end of the day, it involves the word risk. And because essentially you are doing that. And people risk in their personal lives, but in business, everything you do is a calculated risk. You try to be prudent. But if you don't go where no man have gone before, get out of your comfort zone, then like you say, you might as well work on a job. Unfortunately, it goes with the territory. So to that, and it's kind of like the spirit of a jackhammer, is that I want to just say to everybody, it's not my words. This is a newsletter from California, from The Hustle. It says, whatever you do today, don't be afraid to take a risk and go after what you want. Above all, don't cheat yourself in life. Taking a risk is the only way we can accomplish anything. The truth is, when we were younger, we took risks all the time without being afraid of the consequences. We just don't remember. living a successful and productive life is all about taking risks, and most important, not letting our fears hold us back. So whether we like it or not, I think as Sarah lives every day, I'm sure, you have to subscribe to that and live to that kind of thing, because you're going to deal with that. It's not fun. So I really, to the millions of people who are not on this Zoom call, you missed something very special. To the vast majority of the world who missed this call, we'll catch you next time around. You really miss Sarah. Sarah, we will at some point have you back. I hope you don't mind, because it's been absolutely, I know for me, and I'm sure for everybody else, but extraordinarily educational, informative, and most important, inspirational. So continued success. We're back again at this, everybody, in 2 weeks, Joe?
Yes, that's correct. So in 2 weeks' time, we'll have our next guest, and we will be sharing all the details on our meetup.
Right.
So keep an eye out. We would love to thank Sarah so many times for coming over. You're just
Absolutely, Sarah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing all those wonderful answers to our most tiresome questions to you, but thank you for bearing with us. You have been amazing so far. Thank you to everyone for coming out to the chapter 5 of the Jackhammer Effect. We all wish you that you have a great evening. Thank you and take care.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Take
Hey,
care.
Sarah, go
Bye-bye.
meet Steve.
That's right.
I'll keep you updated on that.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.